So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to apply Bright Check Purl chips. We're going to fill this area inside the Pearl Purl edge that we worked in the previous tutorial. I'm going to cover all of this felt padding. I'm going to use Bright Check Purl. This is it here, and here's a piece that I've stretched just to show you how it's formed. So it consists of a faceted wire wrapped in a spiral, and these facets are what give it its sparkle. You can just see that as I turn it around there, see it's sparkling. And this is Bright Check in the form we'll be using it in. So to use it, we need to cut the Bright Check into chips. I've just got it lying on a velvet board, and I'm going to slide the scissors under the gold, which is sitting on top of the velvet pile, and take one sharp snip, like so. You can make some more cuts along the piece of Bright Check. Just slide the scissor underneath, put your finger over the top, and that will just stop the chip shooting off the board. Try and keep the chips of an even length, about as long as they are wide if you can, or as near as you can get. You can see how the pearl doesn't move as it's sitting on top of the velvet pile. I can just slide those scissors underneath. So just keep cutting some chips, keeping the lengths as even as possible, like these ones here. Don't cut too many, just in case you knock them onto the floor. You can see they're a nice even length and ready to sew down. I'm going to use a double wax sewing thread. I'm going to use Guttum and Sew All, and the colour is 488, very similar colour to the gold. So just fold it over in the needle to double it and pull it through the beeswax once, just like we did in the previous tutorial. Put a knot in the end of the thread and place this on a design line, out of the way of the area I'm going to work. And as with the other techniques, you can just take 2 small stitches to start the thread off. You can come right up in that felt. We'll cover that later, so don't worry about where you put them. 2 stitches close to each other. Second one. And then bring your needle back up to the top where you want to start. You can just pick up one of the chips from the velvet board, slide it right down to the bottom of the thread, and then lie the thread down so the chip's lying down, and just take your needle down the other side of that chip. Now, because I'm using a waxed double thread, this can get a bit tangled up. So if you have a malor or a laying tool, or if you don't have either of these, you can just use a large needle. Just guide the thread down carefully like so, so it doesn't get knotted up. Pull the chip down quite tightly. You can see how that fabric's just bouncing a bit as I pull it down. And this just cushions the chip in the felt padding. Right, I'm now going to work around that chip, placing them in different directions so they look as random as possible. Now this one is going in this direction, so I'm going to put my second one across in the other direction. So bring your needle up, thread on another chip from your velvet board. You'll notice I've just left them on there so that they don't roll around. Slide it to the bottom of your thread. And this one's going to lie next to this first chip here. So lie the chip down and take the needle down the other end of the chip. Again, just guide that thread down carefully to stop it tangling, and pull the stitch down tightly. Okay, let's come in a bit closer now so you can see more clearly what's happening. These are the first 2 chips that we've just done. I'm going to work closely around those, so just a little bit away with the needle. Pick up a chip, slide it down to the bottom of the thread, lie the chip down and the needle goes down at the end of that chip. This also happens to be near the Pearl Purl, so just take a little extra care here so you don't damage the pearl. You can see how tightly I'm pulling these stitches. My frame is nice and tight, but you can see that bounce in the fabric. So I'm just going to build up an area of chips in exactly the same way, working methodically and filling in the whole shape. Cut your chip, slide it to the bottom, lie the chip down, needle down at the other end of the chip, guiding it down carefully as you go. Okay, so we've covered most of the felt now. You can see there are no gaps in here at all, no felt showing through, and right up to the edge of that Pearl Purl. I've just got the last few chips to put in now. Take extra care with these last ones, you want them to sit nice and flush. So one in here. That pop into place. I've just got a tiny gap there, so I'm just going to cut an extra short one just to fill in. That's absolutely fine. Just guiding that one into place carefully. There we go, pop into place. Be careful here that you don't put your needle through any of the gold that's already on, so just place that carefully. And then the last chip's going in now. Slide that down to the bottom. And there's the last chip to complete our shape. Now because we filled the whole area in, you won't be able to finish your thread inside this shape now. So we'll just do what we've done previously. And bring the needle up near to where you finished. Make sure it's on one of those design lines. And again those two small finishing stab stitches. Right close to each other to finish the thread. Don't forget you can also turn the whole piece over and just slip the needle under the stitches on the back as an alternative way of finishing the thread. We've done the two stitches, back to the top, snip that thread off as close as you can. You can cut off any of your starting knots as well. And that's how you work Bright Check Purl chips.